announcement, very important. You're about to be educated in all things verification.
We're not going to guarantee anything though.
There's no guarantees in life. Is there sugar? I've had sugar in my tea tonight. You can't, you're presenting, you can't. I'm not going to use that. So, don't stand behind me. Gosh. For those who I haven't met before or I've emailed you, my name's Melissa Knudsen and I'm helping you all coordinate your TPC courses across your institutes and your campuses remotely from my computer every now and again when you have a question or you're trying to work out which panel I can go to verify my things. So that's my face, but my job today is to introduce you to my wonderful colleague Christine Maunder from the New England Institute, and she's going to be educating you on everything I need you to do to make sure your verification panels work properly. They look intrigued and excited to be here.
At least they're not asleep.
That's true.
Yet.
Are you there? Hello?
Yeah.
Hello? Oh, let's give Christine a hand.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do you want the microphone? Do you want this microphone?
No, I think I can.
Salt loud?
Yeah. I don't know where the best place to stand is. Probably not right in the middle. I think I should just don't fall off the edge. Yeah, I really fall off the edge. Okay. Firstly, can I get everybody who is here for the TPC panel sort of down the front, if that's okay? Because I really want this to be interactive and very a collaborative afternoon. So I want people to be able, so you've got people to chat to. Thank you very much.
It's just dry. No one's just got something wet. We just got this one.
Will you be showing much on the screen?
Like bits and nothing exciting. Bits and pieces.
What's it?
Okay, thank you. Okay, so as Mel said, my name is Christine. I'm from TAFE, New England. The primary reason why I'm doing this afternoon is because I was the only silly person who put their hand up. So I just want to acknowledge that I know that we're in a room full of some people who are really, really experienced in TPC, and you guys have heaps more answers and knowledge than I do. So I'm certainly not up here saying that I have the answers to anything today. What I really want to do is to try and make this really collaborative, try and raise some points about how we can make TPC better. I think we're doing really well, but how we can sort of grow as a group and more collaboration, etc., because that is the buzzword. So a little bit about me, just so that you know like why I'm here. I have been at TAFE since 2002. I've taught on TPC since 2006. I was at Granville as the TPC coordinator and then moved to TAFE New England in 2012 and doing everything TPC up there. I also, we do some delivery into University of New England, which I'm doing, and also do the academic foundation skills. And I try and do those things just to make sure that I'm maintaining currency with what universities want. And also the reason why a lot of my friends call me a perpetual student. So, studying myself just to try and keep up to date with what the universities want skill level wise, so we can give that to our students, which I think is really important. So today is obviously primarily from a New England perspective about what we do and also just about what I think that we can do to make things better across the whole of the state. I'm going to try and whip through the first bit really quickly. So please, I want this to be really interactive. So please, if you have a question, stop me as I'm going through. I want this to try and provoke some discussion as we go through, okay? So please let me know when you've got a question. Okay, so the first thing I want to know is who is new to teaching TPC this year? Have we got many people? Just a couple. Okay. And how many people have taught on TPC for, say, longer than 5 years? Okay, so that's the majority. Okay, great. So please, like I said, I definitely don't have all the answers, so I'm relying on you guys to try and inform everybody here today. So it's just, for me, this is all about a chance, an opportunity for us to get on the same page about what we're doing well and what our improvements can be. So we're all doing this together. Okay, so we know what the importance of TPC is, but just to whip through it again. To students, obviously, it is the skills needed to be successful at uni and in their future life. I thought it was really interesting after the UWS presentation this morning that we need to keep that in mind in terms of the reaccreditation that happens in a couple of years, about any changes that we can make. So any information that we can get back from the universities, I think, is really vital as to how we can change and keep moulding our delivery, not necessarily our units, but just our delivery, and making things very useful for them. Obviously, to us, it develops our skills. Like, I learn so much from each cohort of students that I have. We learn about their challenges, their reality, their lives. It makes us become better teachers. So that's really important. To TAFE, TAFE employs us. Obviously, TPC is a good money spinner for our sections. And depending on how your institute delivers it, we deliver the Cert 3 and the Cert 4. So obviously, if they finish the Cert 3, you get higher completion rates. You get paid $4,800 for the Cert 3 completion. Move them into the Cert 4. You get the extra credit transfers across. You get an extra $3,500. It's a lot more financially beneficial for your sections to do that model. Obviously, to employees and employers, we do have the consistency because we do deliver the same thing, so the same assessment tasks, and I believe that's really important, and that just equals quality. And I really feel that that's what we need to just be consistent about and be concentrating and focused on to improve our delivery, is that whole consistency and is that quality of our course. Okay, any comments so far?
Can we just check which institutes do that model?
Yeah.
Pathways first and then TPC.
Who does both?
It depends on the student whether
Yeah.
they have to pay or not.
Exactly,
If
that's
they
what we
pay,
do.
they go straight into Cert 4.
Yes.
Because
definitely a good
our
way.
faculty director is trying to force us not to do that.
Oh,
The
not
TPC
college.
is a one-year course and we should enroll them for the whole year.
Can I just say, if you have a look on the website for Cert 4, and this is our brochures, we were audited, internal audit, and it said on the TPC website for Cert 4, it says this is a 6-month course. To get into it, the prerequisite is a Cert 3.
The prerequisite for Cert 4 is Cert 3.
That's why there's a bit of conflict of interest there, because I
It
think
says
they
or
should-
equivalent though, Kathy.
or it does say or
So
equivalent.
if you set a test at an equivalent
Yes,
level,
that's right.
then you can use that.
Yeah, that's
In terms of the fee thing, like, we offer the Cert 3 and then the Cert 4. We try and do majority of students the Cert 3 6 months, the Cert 4 6 months. However, if they are full fee paying students and have to pay the $700, we put them straight into the Cert 4 so they don't have to pay twice. If they're a concession student, then obviously the Cert 3 they can get the fee-free scholarship. So they don't pay the $80, they'll only pay the $240, which you can't get the fee-free scholarship on. I always find that hard to say. The fee-free scholarship for the Cert 4. So they're only actually paying the Cert for $240 for the whole year, but they end up with the 2 qualifications. And just if they drop out halfway through, which we have we do have students that do that, then at least hopefully we can have got them through a qualification that can come out with the Cert 3. So that's what I find beneficial and the reason why we do it that way. Obviously, we have lots of different delivery models around the state. In TAFE New England, we do face-to-face only in 2 campuses, Armidale and Tamworth, because they're only our biggest campuses to get enough students. We do a lot of video conferencing, so we video conference into all our campuses. So all of our 10 campuses we video conference into from other campuses. The issues with that is there are a lot of challenges with that in terms of completion rates, in terms of having tutorial support, in terms of having content-specific staff at each campus to be able to maintain levels. So obviously face-to-face for us is the better model. However, we want to make sure that every student has access to TPC, so we do offer it through video conferencing. So it's been a trial and error for the last 2 years that we've run this model, and there definitely are ways that we're improving on delivering the video conferencing, what works, what doesn't work. Science is obviously a very big issue. with doing it through video conferencing when you don't have a science teacher on the smaller campuses, doing the practicals, etc. So I'll be really excited to know what happens with the TAFE online delivery of the science subjects that Western Sydney are going to do, how they do the science units, how they do those practicals, get the students to do those. So that'll be really interesting to see what comes out of that. Our online and mixed mode, I know that we do work with a lot of the institutes delivering via online, and we do use a mixture of Adobe Connect and Moodle and a lot of phone and email, and that does work really well because it's a lot of one-on-one sort of support. Our online works a lot better than our video conferencing does. We have a lot of students start the video conferencing. We always start with about 40 or 50 students from 9 or 10 different campuses, and completion rates are around about half, so it's not great. The video conferencing, one of the biggest challenges that we have is the whole students having to be self-reliable, having to be really motivated, having to get them to that point of responsibility that in face-to-face classes students don't normally get to until like 6 months into the course. So they've sort of grown a little bit, so we have to get them there really quickly, so that's a challenge.
Excuse me, Christine. So
Yeah.
just before you go on, I'm interested in that video conferencing. So you're running a Rails class at,
Yeah,
say, Campus A.
yeah.
So if you've got a small cohort in Campus B sitting there at the same time watching you on the video.
Correct, except it's 9, like we'll have one campus doing the delivery, and all the delivery will be from different campuses. So Inverell is delivering maths this semester, English this semester is actually out of Tamworth, I do the history out of Armidale, and so we'll have a small cohort in the classroom, so you're trying to deliver face-to-face to them, and then on the video conference machine at the same time, and they've got scheduled timetables, so it's just like a normal class, and then they go to on-site tutorials. And some of the campuses have like one student, so that's really challenging for that person to stay motivated and keen to do so it's really difficult for the content teacher to do that over the video conference. But you know, we're getting there. We've trialled lots of different models about how to do it, what works, what doesn't work, and yeah, it's very trial and error. So if anyone's interested in more information about the potential to do that, if you've got campuses that you're not delivering TPC into, it is a very economic model of doing it, so more than happy to talk to you about that, what works and what doesn't work, if you're interested. Okay, just quickly, TPC panel. So I want to just raise some questions throughout this whole little spiel this afternoon. Just things for us to be thinking about in terms of moving forward and planning for the future. So online panels, big question just to be thinking about now. Are they working? What works, what doesn't work? For me, we perhaps need to get a little bit better at how we individually organise the panels. It does always end up becoming a little bit ad hoc with little emails, random emails going out. So maybe there is a way that we can do that better. So do we need to write some processes and you know, we could have processes for people sharing online. I know that there are some things that have already been written. Do we need some other things that have been written? Do we need to have a TPC contacts video conference get together early in each semester to be able to just sit and talk to each other and work it out, what we're going to do, who we're going to work with, how we're going to get these panels. Like we might be able to get the whole thing done and dusted and knocked over in a 1 hour session rather than trying to do 20 emails backwards and forwards. So just something to have a think about.
On the list of all the TPC units, it seems to imply that certain institutes have got sponsoring responsibilities for particular units, but that doesn't seem to happen. Was that supposed to happen?
Explain that again, Bill.
That in the list where it's got all the units, right? Next to it, there was something that implied that a particular institute had the responsibility for organising the panel. Like I think North Sydney was supposed to do the English one.
Only the English, the Wales is the one that is compulsory at the end of the year one, and that's been rotated around the institute.
But I have seen.
But no other panels, as far as I
Next to
know.
it, the history one, it had implied that Illawarra was supposed to be doing that, but that didn't
No,
seem to
just said
happen.
that Illawarra was running a panel, and that was the only one that had told me that they were running one. Hunter's now offering a writing panels as well.
Right, okay, so
It's just me
give me
collaborating.
Yeah, just whoever stuck their hand up already, and you know, like I haven't sent my list through. I'll get that over the weekend. Sorry.
And also you have to, the chairperson has to be trained. Is that still the case? That's not the case
No,
anymore.
and so that's what I'm talking about now. Like, do we actually need to write something for chair people for online panels, because they are such a new thing, like just some guidelines, something to help. And I just wanted to quickly show, and I was going to put this into like a nice little table, because if anyone has ever received emails from me, you know that I write like 20-page emails. I'm sorry, this was after I edited it. You guys can't see. Sorry, Riley. So this is just an example of like when I am chairing an online panel, and the first email that I send out, I just give a list of dates and just make sure that people understand and know what's going to come up, what my expectations are going to be of you guys as the teachers. So I'll say, okay, the benchmarking session is going to be video conference Thursday next week. I've just made all these dates up. Let me know your availability. Prior to the video conference, I'll send you 2 papers to mark. So it's benchmarking. We'll discuss those through the VC. Have your class result sheets and verification sheet to me by this date. Blank templates are attached, because I always think that's important to send them out. On Wednesday the 8th, I'll email you a selection of essays to be emailed to me. Now, I've put that in italics and in red, because I know that some chair people ask for all the papers for every campus to be sent through to them. I only ever ask for a selection, and that was just sort of another little question mark to sort of say to you guys, do we need some consistency with that, or does it matter? Is it okay?
You should be sending all of them through as the chairperson. We should be allocating which ones.
Yeah, but
Can't we just
after I
take
get
the list of people if they're in
That's
order
it.
from first class?
Yeah.
I mean, in Bathurst we've got 50 Laos
So-
papers, 50 maths papers.
So what I do
Oh my God.
after I get the class result sheets, I just then go, okay, well there's 10 here, so I know that you've got to send me like 6 of them, so, well there's 12, so you've got to send me 6 of them. So then I just go, okay, I want these student numbers, these papers, so I'm just randomly selecting.
That's better.
That's what you do on a face-to-face.
Yes, I think that's a much better
Oh, you mean
idea.
you ask them which papers
I
you
tell
want.
them which
They
papers
don't
to
pick
send
which
me.
papers.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah. No, you don't get to pick which papers.
No,
you
that's
have.
right.
No, that's right.
Chairperson should choose.
Good, lucky, keep going.
So it's kind of a case
Or
of,
retake, it's okay.
so for me that was just a little bit of a question mark. Do we need consistency with that, or is it okay? Does it really matter if different chair people are doing different things? I don't know, I don't have the answer for that. So that was just something to think about. Do we need to do that?
Do the chair people look at the processes for chairing panels that are on the wiki or before you start?
I hope so.
All the rules are there.
Yeah.
It's all done.
Yeah.
But this sort of detail,
Is there?
oh, is it?
Yeah.
It's exactly what you do in a face-to-face panel, what you've just said. You know, if you have less than 10, you pick up 3, more than 10, you pick up 6.
6.
Okay, so yeah, I mean that fits
Yes.
there.
Yeah.
I did know that it said about the whether you send all the essays to me or not. But that's fine. Well, I think that maybe then some people aren't. If that detail's there in that, then maybe that's sort of something we just need to direct people to a bit more. Anyway, so I just keep going through and I give this list of dates and I say like how many essays that we're going to have potentially, how many teachers there are, so how many to expect that are going to be coming to you over the next couple of days to verify. So that's really important for people to know that. Dates are so important. So I tell you, I'm going to be sending out the ones that haven't been verified. I'll keep flicking them out. We'll the whole process complete by Friday the 23rd of October. So it's just about being really clear as to what the expectations are for the teachers.
So looking at the other thing is, as people are sort of organising virtually their own panels, I'm going to do my panelling through this place and somebody else is going to do it. I actually think there needs to be a central, because I could actually slip through the net and not belong to any panel. Well, but people aren't always spending their colleges to go.
And that's what I think a little bit later. I think one of the things, I don't know whether this is something that we potentially could organise for future semesters, is to have an updated list of teachers somewhere on a site that we can actually go in, this new intranet site, I don't know if it's available, whether we can do this, go in and actually be updating the teachers lists ourselves. and also then be updating panels ourselves sort of live. I don't know whether that's so then it's very clear and easy to see if anyone has been missed out of panels. I don't know, but that's sort of something that I was thinking of.
I think that's a good idea because it's hard waiting for Melissa to send out things and that you're busy and that you get the handwritten one, but anything is fine. So then you can see who to get, and then there's multiple ones coming out, updates all the time. If there was somewhere that was just on one, we could update it ourselves.
You know how they're making the new intranet for TAFE?
Yes, I've been
So
there.
all the stuff that I've been doing has been while that's been set up.
Yes.
So now that that's done,
Yeah.
the next
Can we-
semester or for the end of semester ones this time, I'll be able to put it all there, and you guys can go straight to there. But in the meantime, I haven't had somewhere to go while I switch.
But we can't update it, can we? Like I've had a couple of teachers sick, so change of teachers.
But then you can only go to Google Drive if you have a Gmail account.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can sort of be maybe thinking about that, like there might be a bit of a better solution, even if it was then able to be updated weekly or something.
If you could have a live document going on that
Yes.
intranet page,
That would be
it
good.
would
It would be really good.
We found it works very well. The virtual panel, don't you think? The history. I'm Raylan Connolly from Hunter, who is doing another history panel. We found it works very well. We get the cooperation of 99.8% of the staff, and that's fantastic. There's usually one or two colleges who suddenly, oh, did they have to be in today? Did I have to send those scripts by today? Yeah. There's usually that, but it's working really well.
Yeah.
And that's
Really
because Raylene's the chair and she does a lot of the messaging, which is very clear.
Yeah, having the right people. Yeah.
So everybody's clear, like you're saying, the expectations are clear.
That's really important.
Across the boards.
I just wanted to quickly, I know this is really obvious stuff for people who have been teaching for a very long time, but just sort of a bit of a reminder, like I get a lot of questions, all my examples are from Asia Pacific because that's what I'm sort of doing at the moment. So I get a lot of questions which you can kind of work out the answers to. So I get a lot of questions around, can you include Australia in Asia Pacific? I think people forget to look at the actual unit guide a lot. Like we rely on the marking criteria a lot, but I'm not sure whether people like go to the range statement and make sure that you understand what's actually there in the range statement. So clearly it says Asia Pacific is limited to, but may include, but is not limited to, all of these countries that surround Australia. So therefore Australia can be included. So it's about understanding and making sure that you are using the unit guide as well as the marking criteria, and I just sort of think maybe sometimes that gets a little bit skipped, so that's all my point about that, the range statement. The conditions of assessment, there's been some questions lately that I've gotten from different institutes, especially around English B, and the answers are here. Like, this is such a good summary, like just on that front page of the marking guide, this conditions of assessment, I think people sort of skip over a little bit as well. So make sure that you've read through that because that does tell you a lot in summary, which I know is kind of obvious. In terms of the actual marking criteria, it's really important to also know what the difference is between each of the criteria. So we can see here between very high and high, the difference is two little words in detail. Now they're the ambiguous points, so it's really important for us to understand and to know what the ambiguous points are and to be able to then raise them through a forum, because it's not just about, it's too late once you get to the verification panel, you've already taught the unit. So it's about us, I believe, trying to have some mechanism of getting together and making sure we can answer these questions that we have, the ambiguous questions, before we do the teaching, not just the verification, but the teaching as well. So everybody who's teaching the unit is on the same page. So first up, it's about making sure we understand what the differences are and making sure that the students understand those differences. So not just saying, here's the marking bar, but the differences are, from very high to high, just two tiny little words, and what does that mean?
Can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether Melissa can answer this or not. Is there room to put exemplars up now, or are there already exemplars up of what is a very high and what is a high? Because because that's probably will be
Yes.
something that new teachers will need to know
Absolutely.
by looking at. So we need somewhere to put exemplars.
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
new intranet works the same as the old one, so Tracy can upload all those sort of things.
Yeah.
What I would suggest though is that before you just put a high and a very high up there, annotate them first, explain why they, what's the difference between the two, so that new teachers can
And
see.
have the marking guide with lots of comments in there,
Yes.
so you can see how.
But now you can put anything up, you can put any files up you want. It's just because the time that took to move it from one place to another, and it's that. That's why you got handwritten stuff coming in.
So obviously, you go with what's actually listed in the marking criteria of the range statement. I think sometimes people try and make things a lot harder than what it actually needs to be by trying to read into things or, you know, come up, can we do this or can we do that? Well, what does the marking criteria, what does the range statement say? We can't go by anything different than that. I think that's something that's we've got. Ask questions about what's acceptable for any ambiguous points, because there definitely are, and understanding the marking criteria implications. And by that, what I mean is, so this criteria 4, so there's 4 points there to get, 4 points there to get a very high. If I had a student who did all three of those points really fantastically to get the very high, but I'd forgotten to tell them to do annotations, so therefore they can't get that one that's in red, so then they can't get a very high. They can't get a high because that still annotates 2 items. They can't get a medium even because that still annotates 2 items. They haven't commented on anything, so they can't. So automatically they're getting a very low, even though they've done the other 3 points really well. So it's about making sure that we understand the implications for our students of our teaching, so that we have looked at every single point within each of those different marking criteria and making sure that our students are covering those. So it's not necessary, it's not good enough just to go, oh, well, you've done that point really well, so you'll get a very high. You've got to have all of them. So that's what's really important, that we've got that detail and we've communicated that detail effectively to our students.
Christine, sometimes you've got to be very careful. The marking criteria and the unit guides don't always match up, particularly with the annotated bibliographies.
Yeah.
So with panels I've ever been involved with, when we have our meeting to say, we talk about those sorts of things, and it's about consensus to say, what do we do in this particular case? Do we count this or we don't? And that's with all of the criteria, that's with all of the documents.
And I think that what the whole thing is about is just making sure we're having that discussion early enough, and also having that discussion, because if we're going to more and more of these online panels, then we're potentially going to have 2 or 3 different panels for the same unit. So those chair people need to be on the same page after they've had their discussions with the teachers in their panel. So one, with an ambiguous point, one panel hasn't decided to do this, and another panel decided to do that. That's where we're going to get in trouble.
And another point about that I just add is that sometimes you get a new teacher coming to a panel and then, you talk about something, an anomaly like that, and someone will go, oh, but we've always done that. But you can't do that. That's what I mean. You can't assume that because that's not in the criteria.
That's exactly right. And so it's so important to stick strictly to what the criteria is saying rather than just what we've always done.
Yeah. Well, that's really unfair.
So I wanted to just raise some things that I think that we do really well. I think that we collaborate and we discuss really, really well, more so than a lot of other courses across the whole institute. I think that we do have good consistency. I think that we do have good quality. We are looking always for continuous improvement. We do have that great mix between experience and enthusiasm, which is really important. We're really good at building relationships, and I think that actually puts us in really good stead for however this one TAFE is going to look like, because we do all that stuff already, more so than other courses. Now I've put a question mark after this, so improvements. So these are just things that I wanted to raise that that I just wanted people to have a think about. And I know I shouldn't have e-communities there, it's the new intranet site. I did this a while ago and I wasn't thinking. Earlier discussions for teaching and verification. Should we do that? How can we do that? So it's the teaching side of things as well as the verification side of things. Involvement for writing exams and chairing panels. So it's just about people feeling confident enough to stick their hands up to write exams, to chair panels. I think it's really important that everybody is trying to get to the space where they feel confident to do that and not relying on the same people. Like Raylene's going to do history, chair history every single semester. You know, like might be very happy to do that. But, you know, if other people stick their hands up. So it's about like making sure we've got all the institutes involved and pulling their weight.
Sometimes people just feel a little bit not confident. So
Exactly.
one of the teachers asked me if I mentor for doing the biology panel, so I think that's another one.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe we do need some more clear guidelines to help people. And the next point, having professional development, having mentoring. One of my teachers in New England has been talking a lot to another new teacher at the moment. She's been so excited about doing that. So can we pair new teachers up with more experienced teachers to help them through this whole TPC process now that we don't have as much face-to-face interaction? The verification and marking. Now, this is I don't think that we're definitely not doing a tick and flick. Is there the potential that it could possibly become that? Is there a slippery slope? Is there anything that we need to make sure that we're on top of now for the quality and the consistency to make sure that we don't go down that way with having these online panels rather than having the face-to-face things? The intranet site, I should say. I think that what's really important is that when that intranet site is up, that we all go onto it, we all have a look around it, we all see what's there, what's missing, we give that feedback through. So what improvements, what else do we need to see on that site? I think that's really important that we do.
Would it be possible, because like obviously what I've loved about the Laos verification is getting to chat to everybody else. And so that's the only one we have to do, but could we perhaps rotate each year that, you know, Mouse actually has an actual panel somewhere where they all go, so every couple of, I know it's cost, so rather than doing it every year, you just choose one subject and you rotate it across 6 years, 7 years, 10 years, every couple of years you get a chance to do that.
We could definitely put that forward because
So
you're
it's
right,
really
because
useful.
English teachers at the moment are the only ones that really be able to get to do that. Science and maths is out. Referencing, is there consistency? Are people using, what guides are people using? Are people just doing Harvard? Is everyone still using the TPC, the last TPC referencing guide, which is the modified Harvard guide? Do we need to have consistency? Does it matter? Should we, do we need a new guide that's out? Like, what do we need to do in that space?
So Laos has to do Harvard.
Other units just say recognisable.
That's right. But I guess my question with that is, do we need consistency, and does that place any issues in terms of when you go to the verification panel? And my paper, which I've taught students to do, I don't know, APA, and now that's going to someone else and they don't recognise that, is there that potential that that could have any issues? I don't know, I'm just raising it as a point.
People just say as long as it's consistent, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what we say, if it's consistent.
Well, I think that we probably just need to make sure that that's what's communicated really clearly, so that everybody's on the same page.
It does say it in the assessment criteria. It does say that.
Yeah, I know, but just to make sure that everybody's looking at that, because I know that there have been panels where students have been marked down when this paper's gone for verification. Another person's hasn't verified that paper because of referencing issues. So that's all I'm sort of saying about the communication.
And while we're on referencing, is everybody who teaches LAOs teaching students to use referencing software, or are we back there saying you've got to learn how to do it without, you know, like a calculator? You can't do that. You've got to learn how to do it longhand first. But once those students go to university, they're expected to be able to use software these days. And so if we're doing tertiary prep, why aren't we all teaching how to use that software? But then that puts you into the problem of different programs. It depends which, you know, within Word, they've got their form of Harvard, which is different to our guide.
They don't have to do it anymore.
They don't, but that just demonstrates the problem, that if they're accessing a software program through Word, that's built into. So we create the variety.
Are we going to insist that they all be in Word documents?
See, all of this stuff with consistency, like all of these issues, I think is really important that we're just trying to communicate really clearly about are we or aren't we?
Yeah.
That's what I think. It's just, I think that we have this potential that we might start losing some of this consistency. Louis, how long do I have?
Look, if anybody would like to go to the HTC community practice, probably should make its way up.
Okay, I think we're done.
But we can
Okay,
keep going
thank
with the
you.
TPC discussion for another half hour if you want.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
We're going to do a bit of a brainstorm thing, but that's okay. We're all.